Sangye Churdan Soki Chognam La Janto Bardu Dagni Kapsu Chi Dagi Chunyin Gi Pe Sonam Ki Trola Penchir Sangye Drupar Shu Sangye Churdan Soki Chognam La Janto Bardu Dagni Kapsu Chi Dagi Chunyin Gi Pe Sonam Ki Trola Penchir Sangye Drupar Shu Sangye Churdan Soki Chognam La Jantu Bardu Dagni Kyapsu Chi Dagi Chenyin Gi Pe Sonam Ki Drola Penchir Sangye Drupa Sho.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Good morning, everybody. Let's do a couple of minutes meditation on the breath. I think the purpose of my life is to lead all sentient beings from suffering to enlightenment. In order to do that, first I have to reach enlightenment myself, and that depends upon completing the graduated path to enlightenment, especially the Bodhisattva path. And therefore, I'm going to study Atisha's teaching, A Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment, which explains how to reach enlightenment, and particularly focusing on the topic today, the Bodhisattva vows. And because if I don't take those, there's no way to reach enlightenment. Therefore, I'm going to study the Bodhisattva vows in order to reach enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. Okay, thanks. So I should have issued a spoiler alert that we're going to be looking at Bodhisattva vows today, as that's what. Okay, so last few weeks we were looking at the 7-limb practice, especially as it's explained in the context of the Lama Zopa Guru Yoga. And that's because in Atisha's Lamp for the Path, from the seventh verse says, facing paintings, statues, and so forth of the completely enlightened one, reliquaries, and the excellent teaching, offer flowers, incense, whatever you have. And then with a 7-part offering from the prayer of noble conduct, the King of Prayers, Samantabhadra's prayer, with the thought never to turn back till you gain ultimate enlightenment, with strong faith in the 3 jewels, kneeling with one knee on the ground and your hands pressed together. First of all, take refuge 3 times. So we could talk for weeks on refuge, but we're not going to this time. Then next, beginning with an attitude, this is the 10th verse, next we're beginning with an attitude of love for all living creatures, consider beings, excluding none, suffering in the 3 bad rebirths, suffering birth, death, and so forth. So generating compassion for sentient beings experiencing all those sufferings without exception. Then, since you want to free these beings from the suffering of pain, from the suffering of the causes of suffering, arouse immutably the resolve to attain enlightenment. So who's taken the Bodhisattva vows? Okay, well, some I can see, some I can't. So, so that's the next step. What we need to do. So the FPMT has a little booklet on the Bodhisattva vows. This is an early format. This was this one from 2004, but you can download this, or maybe an updated version from the FPMT website. I think it's free. So first I'm just going to look at what the booklet says, and then we'll look at the vows. Remember the first time I remember Lama Yeshe giving the Bodhisattva vows at Kopan was after the 4th course in the spring of 73. At the 3rd course, a lot of us had taken refuge, and 5 lay precepts at the 3rd course, and then we got given Tibetan names. Some of the students used their Tibetan names. Lama Yeshe gave us names I was I was given the name Thupten Zopa, so I was too embarrassed to defile that name with my faulty behaviour and thinking, so I never really used it. Anyway, they all called me Dr. Nick, so that's kind of what I was called. The Lamas called me that, and then after the fourth course, Lama said, "Okay, this afternoon I'm going to give the Bodhisattva vows." So then we explained how special it was that we should wash ourselves and put on clean clothes. It was like we were sort of getting another sort of a mini rebirth as a new person, as a Bodhisattva aspirant. So we had to wash and put on clean clothes and clean our teeth, and so quite a big deal was made of it about how special it was. So it was really a special thing. So there's a bit of a preamble also. So in this booklet it says, the wishing bodhicitta, and engaging bodhicitta. So we know, one is aspiring to become a bodhisattva and aspiring to take the vows at some point, and then actually taking the vows and really setting foot on the bodhisattva path. So with wishing bodhicitta, the commitments of having taken the vows to develop wishing bodhicitta divided into two sections: how to guard the vows from degenerating in this life, how to maintain and enhance your practice in future lives. So to guard the vows from degenerating in this life has four sections. The first section, A, to develop inspiration, contemplate the advantages of bodhicitta. So it's the only door to the Mahayana path. You'll be called a child of the Buddhas. You'll surpass in brilliance even the Hinayana Arhats. You'll become an object of highest respect and offering. You'll easily complete the extensive collections of merit. The obstructions of your negative karmic impressions will quickly be purified. You'll be successful in whatever you attempt, and you'll be without need. You will not be overcome by either harm or interference. You'll be an inexhaustible source of comfort and happiness for sentient beings, and you'll quickly attain all the realizations of the path to enlightenment. So these are the 10 advantages of bodhicitta. To strengthen one's bodhicitta, contemplate it and recite the prayer 3 times a day and 3 times at night. It's very heavy negative karma to give up bodhicitta because you promised to lead all sentient beings to enlightenment. It's a heavy negative karma to break your promise and to abandon bodhicitta. It's like lying to all sentient beings. You should never be disheartened, even if it seems it will take such a long time to receive enlightenment. Instead of becoming dismayed, complete the benefits and advantages, revive your vows by saying the prayer of wishing bodhicitta. So the prayer of wishing bodhicitta is, "O Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Gurus, please listen to what I now have to say from the depths of my heart. Just as all the Buddhas of the past have developed thought of enlightenment, true bodhicitta, then practice its stages of graded development following the trainings for all Buddha's children, so may I too, for the sake of all beings, develop bodhicitta and follow the trainings exactly as all the bodhisattvas have done." So we do this when we do Guru Puja. There's an extra section that Lama Zopa Rinpoche has inserted on taking the bodhisattva vows and the tantric vows. As regular participants in Guru Puja will remember. So at that point, if you've already taken the Bodhisattva vows from a Lama, from a fully qualified teacher, then when you say this prayer, you're restoring your vows, you're strengthening the ones you haven't broken, and you're purifying any ones that you have broken, and then restoring them. And if you haven't taken the Bodhisattva vows, at that point, when we're reciting the taking of the Bodhisattva vows, then you generate the aspiration to take the vows in future. Do not give up bodhicitta because of the mischievous deeds of sentient beings. This happens when you think you will not work for the welfare of a particular sentient being who has harmed you. So once we've taken the Bodhisattva vows, we're not allowed to give up on even one sentient being, no matter how badly that sentient being behaves. So these days, we get so much bad news, negative news from all over the world through all various kinds of media. It's just, reminder after reminder of how much suffering there is in just this world, and this is a relatively good world compared to other realms that we could be in. And so we see how much suffering there is and how badly sentient beings, particularly people who should know better, behave. So it's easy to get angry and negative, but we should always try to remember our compassion and have even more compassion. Sentient beings who are inflicting harm on others, killing others, torturing others, and so forth. Generally we'll feel compassion for the people who are being tortured and feel hatred or dislike for those who are inflicting the torture. But actually, from one point of view, we should feel more compassion for the people who are inflicting harm, because the people on whom they're inflicting harm are actually finishing their karma of having to experience that kind of suffering. They're finishing that karma. Whereas the people who are inflicting the harm are just creating the karma to experience that sort of suffering in the future. So they're creating their cause of suffering, while the ones who are, experiencing the harm at the hands of the others are finishing their karma. So of course we should feel compassion for both, but anyway, you understand. And then finally, work to accumulate the two collections of merit and wisdom. In the beginning, you can acquire extensive merit by making offerings to the poor and to the three jewels, and wisdom by contemplating emptiness. This will help strengthen your bodhicitta. So that was, how to guard the vows from degenerating in this life, and how to maintain and enhance your practice in future lives. So first is abandoning the 4 negative dharmas. So these are knowingly confusing one's abbot, guru, or other holy beings with lies, such as changing the subject when your guru asks you to do something, or not telling your guru of your negative actions because you're afraid of getting scolded. Then second, discouraging others from practicing virtuous actions or causing them to regret the virtue they've created, such as saying, it's good, but it'll be difficult for you to maintain that practice when someone is practicing renunciation. You cause them to doubt their virtuous practice. Even if they do not regret their virtuous action, your encouragement to do so is a negative dharma. So we shouldn't do that. 3, abusing a bodhisattva out of anger. Even if a bodhisattva is at fault, if your abusive words are heard by others, you create this negative dharma. Of course, they say that even getting angry at a bodhisattva has an upside, in that, of course, getting angry at a bodhisattva, I think, for every moment, every second, every fraction of a second, whatever it is, that you're angry at a bodhisattva, you create a cause to experience eons of suffering in the lower realms. Yet, it's better than never having met that bodhisattva at all, because at least even if you're getting angry at a bodhisattva, you make a connection with that bodhisattva, and then when the negative karma of the anger has been experienced after a long time, then you will have a connection to meet that bodhisattva again, perhaps in a more with a more positive interaction the next time.
And the bodhisattva had the karma to be abused.
Well, who knows what the bodhisattva's motivation was? Maybe it was that, or maybe they just felt this was the best way to connect with you. So in the long run, it would be of benefit for you, even if you have to undergo a certain amount of suffering because of the anger in the meantime.
But the bodhisattva herself would have to have the karma to be abused by me, otherwise it couldn't happen.
Well, that's not necessarily so. They may have just provoked the situation intentionally to benefit you out of compassion with bodhicitta, and you may have the karma to abuse the bodhisattva, but that bodhisattva may have created the situation for your benefit.
So the 6 million Jews may not have had the karma to be murdered. Maybe they were just pretending, like this bodhisattva.
Well, I don't know if they were bodhisattvas or not. That's hard to say. I would think for the most part, probably not.
How would you know?
Well, I don't know, but
this reciprocity.
I'm just guessing.
This reciprocity of karma is all fine when you want it to be, but then in a case like this, you want to be quickly able to not have the karma in the bodhisattva to be abused. I don't understand it.
Well, the bodhisattvas on the first 7 levels are not free from karma. The bodhisattvas on the 3 pure levels, 8th, 9th, and 10th levels, are free from karma. They're out of cyclic existence. So if it's a bodhisattva on the first 7 levels, it's possibly a result of their karma. If it's a bodhisattva on the pure levels, then they don't have negative karma. So, but of course we can't tell who's a bodhisattva and what level they're on anyway. But as the Lamas teach us, we should always think anybody we meet could be a bodhisattva. And so restrain ourselves by remembering that if we create negative karma with that person and it is a bodhisattva, then we're really harming ourselves. So, karma doesn't care what we think. Karma is just karma. And it works irrespective of what we think about it. So then the second thing is to practice the 4 positive dharmas that oppose the 4 negative ones. So abandon deliberately lying to any sentient being, whether for the sake of humor or even at the cost of your life. Do not discriminate among sentient beings. So that one opposes the 4th negative dharma. Sorry, I didn't read the 4th one, sorry. So abandoning 4 negative karmas is confusing your abbot, holy beings, discouraging others from practicing virtuous actions, abusing a bodhisattva. 4th is putting on an air of having selfless thought, but having ulterior motives other than the pure wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, such as pretending to be a scholar or concealing your shortcomings. So, the second positive dharma opposes that. Do not discriminate among sentient beings. Third is abandon criticizing bodhisattvas, since you do not know who is a bodhisattva and who is not. There it is. It's best to treat all sentient beings as bodhisattvas and Buddhas. And 4th, take upon yourself the responsibility to establish all sentient beings in the Mahayana path by A, encouraging their enthusiasm for the Mahayana path. Even if you're not successful, you must always try to do this. Encourage others to follow the Mahayana path. Second, rejoicing in the virtue of others instead of being jealous of their wish to attain enlightenment. And 3, cultivating love and compassion in all your actions. So the result of practicing these wholesome dharmas and avoiding the negative dharmas is never to be separated from bodhicitta. So, like anything else, these are not necessarily something that we can clearly understand just by reading it or hearing it. Each of these points is something to read over and over again, to think about and meditate on, and see if they make sense or not. So if you're not familiar with all this, this is just by way of either reminding you or introducing you to these topics. Deborah?
I'm just thinking about the teaching that the Dalai Lama has been giving the last couple of days. He's speaking to these Theravada monks from all over Southeast Asia on Mahasatipatthana Sutra. And I was really curious, what is he going to tell them? Because obviously he wants to guide them to the Mahayana path. And so he's doing very skillful. He says, I don't want you to talk about the sutra because you don't know it so well. And he says, he talks about his personal practice a little bit. So I thought, what a wonderful example of, trying to guide people skillfully and gently and not, criticizing them. So I found it very interesting, even though I haven't listened to both of the talks yet, just the first one.
All right. Yeah, that Thupten Jinpa's translating, isn't he?
Yeah, well, the usual translator does a simultaneous English translation. It does it first, and then Thupten Jinpa gives a much more complete translation, which is great, very good.
So are any of the Theravada monks casting off their yellow robes, making red ones?
I don't know, but he's really looking at the audience when Thupten Jinpa is translating. I'm afraid he's probably say, what are they thinking? He probably knows what they're thinking, but the camera hasn't focused on them that much recently, so I haven't seen their reaction, which I'm actually curious about it because, they invited him to speak.
Yeah.
So must have some respect for him.
Well, yeah, I think he's always makes it pretty clear he's not at all in the slightest sectarian, and you remember a lot of those teachings we used to go to, like in New York, and that he'd, at the beginning, he'd have a Sangha from all the different traditions come up and chant the Heart Sutra. or I think in the Theravada monks, what would they chant the Four Noble Truths Sutra. And so, the Theravada monks, he would always invite them first, as he felt they were their senior brothers and sisters, Theravada monks and nuns, and then from Japan, Korea, and then someone would chant in Sanskrit. So His Holiness really makes a point of not being sectarian at all, But still, he would give this teaching. He does give this teaching. Okay, so the result of practicing all these wholesome dharmas and avoiding the negative dharmas is never to be separated from bodhicitta. So then engaging bodhicitta, the commitments of having taken the vows to develop engaging bodhicitta are divided into two sections, the 18 root vows and the 46 branch vows. So those of us who've taken the vows should at least know the 18 root vows by heart, which I don't, and we should read them frequently, which I don't. So for those who've taken them, for those who haven't, let's look at the 18 root vows, the bodhisattva vows. So these are things we have to abandon. And also remember that where the spirit of the pratimoksha vows, the individual liberation vows, 5 lay vows and the various levels of the monastic pratimoksha vows, the spirit of those is renunciation of samsara. The spirit of the bodhisattva vows is to overcome, to act without self-cherishing, to cherish others and the happiness and welfare of others more than ourselves. So that's the spirit of these vows, and these vows are intended to help us overcome self-cherishing and to put cherishing others first. So abandon. Praising yourself or belittling others out of attachment to receiving offerings or admiration. So I'm going to run through these, and then I have a commentary here by Geshe Tashi Tsering, the Geshe who was at London Centre for a long time and recently left to become the abbot of Saramay Monastery in South India. Geshe Tashi, he founded the teaching program called Foundations of Buddhism or Foundation of Tibetan Buddhism, and there are 6 published 6 books of his teachings. Sort of was based on this this course that he created. So this course, Foundations of Buddhist Thought, I think it's called, was created as an alternative to the FPMT's Discovering Buddhism program. So I think at first when he started creating this, there was a bit of consternation in the FPMT headquarters that this Geshe is creating a rival course. But actually they both work well together, and a lot of people have done them both, and they found they sort of enhance each other, even though of course there's some repetition. Because repetition is the hallmark of Buddhist study. We have to keep studying the same thing, same topics over and over again, because the point is to realize the topic, beyond words, not just to, remember the words and be able to spout them. Okay, praising yourself, belittling others out of attachment, receiving offerings, admiration. Second, even though you're able, not giving material aid to others through miserliness, or not teaching Dharma to those who are suffering and without a protector because you want to amass knowledge just for yourself. Three, not forgiving others, but harboring a grudge and holding it even when they apologize. Four, abandoning the Mahayana teachings by saying that some parts of the teachings are not teachings of the Buddha and propounding your own fabricated or perverted doctrine. Five, taking back offerings to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, or taking them by robbery or devious schemes, using for your own purpose material dedicated to the Sangha. Six, abandoning or despising the holy Dharma by criticizing the scriptures or practices of any of the three vehicles of the Shravakas, the Pratyeka Buddhas, or the Bodhisattvas. If you have an inclination for Tantra, criticizing the Paramitayana. If you're inclined towards the Mahayana, criticizing the Hinayana, and vice versa. You should not criticize the difference in various teachings of the Buddha, the various teachings, because Buddha taught with skillful means in various ways to guide disciples with different dispositions. This criticism is heavier than destroying all the stupas on earth. Seven, harming an ordained person, inflicting violence on them, stealing their robes, or causing them to lose their vows. Eight, committing any of the five heinous actions, to kill your mother, your father, or an arhat, to cause disunity among the Sangha, or to wound a Buddha. So these are, the five extreme negativities of immediate retribution. Committing any of those five. 9, cultivating and holding wrong views such as sectarianism, denying the existence of the three jewels, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, or denying the existence of the law of cause and effect. 10, destroying any town or country, such as by fire, bombs, pollution, black magic, and so forth. This includes destroying any place that is inhabited by others, such as houses. 11, teaching emptiness to those who are untrained or not ready to understand it. This could be harmful due to causing fear and causing one to abandon bodhicitta, thus falling to the level of Hinayana. "12, turning someone away from working to attain enlightenment and encouraging a person to work merely for their own liberation. For example, if someone is training in bodhicitta, saying to that person, if you practice this, you'll never attain enlightenment. Would it not be better to train in the Hinayana? At least you'll be free from samsara." 13, encouraging others to abandon their pratimoksha vows. For example, if someone's abiding by their vows, saying, what is the use of that? Would it not be better to train in bodhicitta, whereby your non-virtues of body, speech, and mind will automatically subside? If that person abandons his or her pratimoksha vows, you've created a transgression. Saying that the pratimoksha vows are not necessary for Mahayana practice is wrong. They are the best working basis for Tantra. "14, causing others to hold the incorrect views that you might hold regarding the Hinayana teachings, such as saying that by practicing the Hinayana, one can never give up attachment or be released from suffering and delusions. If the other person believes you, it's a transgression." "15, proclaiming the false realizations of emptiness. Although you have not understood emptiness, teaching others, if you meditate on this, you'll be like me and you'll understand emptiness directly. This cheats others through pretension. If the other person believes you've realized emptiness, it's a transgression if you haven't. If you have, you probably wouldn't say. 16, accepting as gifts material you know has been stolen or embezzled from the 3 jewels or from a monk. 17, taking material from someone who is meditating on calm abiding and giving it to someone who merely recites texts. Such an action may cause the meditator to abandon their practice. 18, abandoning bodhicitta by thinking, I cannot help sentient beings, or I do not want to help this particular sentient being. So we'll look at these in more detail, but those are the 18 root vows. So then there are 4 conditions that are required to completely transgress the major vows, in which case you'll need to take the vows again in order to restore them, except for vows 9 and 18. So 9 is cultivating and holding wrong views, such as sectarianism, denying the existence of the 3 jewels, or denying the existence of the law of cause and effect. So what we call logta, or perverse view, views, significant views contrary to reality. So you don't need these 4 conditions that we'll come to in a moment to break that one. And 18, abandoning bodhicitta. So if you abandon bodhicitta, or if you hold wrong views, then that vow is broken. For the others, you need these 4 conditions to completely break the vow. So the first of these 4, you fail to regard the action as wrong, or you know that you're breaking a vow, but you do not care. Because you lack faith in karma, you think that doing a negative action or breaking a vow does not matter. Due to ignorance, you may not think that the action is negative, and so you act contrary to the vow. Recognizing that the action is negative makes the transgression incomplete. The second condition, not abandoning the thought to do the action again. If you do not regret the action and generate the wish to avoid it in future, or if you have the wish to do the action again, then this contributes to a complete transgression. If you wish to never commit such an action ever again, then the transgression is incomplete. Third, rejoicing or admiring yourself for having done the action. For example, if you break the first vow and then think how good it was that I could show off my good qualities. So the first one is praising yourself or belittling others out of attachment to receiving offerings or admiration. So if you rejoice and admire yourself having done the action, negative action, whatever it is, for example, if you break that first vow of praising yourself, belittling others, and you think how good it was that I could show off my good qualities. If you feel upset or regret the action, then that it becomes incomplete. Fourth, having no shame or consideration for others. You do not care about the consequences of the action for yourself or for others. You're careless in karma. You do not feel that the action has anything to do with your karma. So those are the 4 conditions to completely transgress the major vows. So then it says, if any of the 18 root vows are broken, you lose all of your bodhisattva vows, and therefore you should retake them as soon as possible. If the vows are not broken from the root, that is, all 4 factors are not present, but 1, 2, or 3 of them are, your vows, while not lost, have still degenerated. So it's important to purify any transgressions through applying the 4 opponent powers and restore the full strength of the vows in your mind stream by taking them again. So really, in either way, you really want to take them again. You can retake the bodhisattva vows with a qualified master or by yourself in front of an image of the Buddha. His Holiness, over the last couple of years in particular, has given the bodhisattva vows many times online. And that's taking them from His Holiness at those times is considered just as valid as if taking them from him in person. So I imagine that if you go back and see when he gave bodhisattva vows a year ago, that it's still valid to take them from him at that time, rather than only while he's giving them live, you know. I'm not sure about that. So we can retake them ourselves like we do during the Guru Puja, just by reciting those verses, or we could go online and find His Holiness giving the bodhisattva vows and take them from him like that at that time, like that. So maybe that should be checked, but I think it would work. If you're restoring them, if you're taking them for the first time, it might be more important to take them live, or you know, yeah. So from His Holiness, or I'm not sure if Lama Zopa Rinpoche has given them bodhisattva vows in his various talks from Kopan in the last couple of years. I can't remember. So either way, if we've broken any of the root vows completely with all these 4 conditions intact, or if it's vows 9 and 18, where we don't need any conditions, just doing those actions breaks them, or if our transgression is incomplete, just 1, 2, 3 of these 4 conditions are present, then we just restore the vows by taking again. So also there's this this teaching on Chandra Goman's 20 verses on the Bodhisattva vow. So I'm not going to go through this. You'll be disappointed to hear, but this is a Snowline book. This is one of the most extensive teachings on the Bodhisattva vows and developing bodhicitta. So it's worth, we aspiring bodhisattvas would be well advised to study the teachings in this book. So now, this teaching's online. Bodhisattva vows by Geshe Tashi Tsering. So someone can find that. It's at bodhicitta.net. bodhicitta.net/bodhisattva vows. So first one to find that, put it in the chat. And then you can download a PDF. Anybody found it yet? bodhicitta.net/bodhisattva vows. Or just Google Bodhisattva vows, Geshe Tashi Tsering. Bunch of inept Googlers here.
Yeah, my firewall is blocking that
There's a firewall?
domain for some reason. Yeah.
I can't find it either.
Okay, hang on a
I have to
second.
figure out how to get around that. I'm not sure how to reset my.
Well,
I found one, but it's Shantideva Bodhicitta vows. Is that correct?
actually, I found it. Well, I've got it here. It's on the Shantideva, our center in New York. So yeah, I don't know if that one, what Margaret put, this is the one I'm talking about. You see that, Shantideva, Bodhisattva vows, PDF? Bob Dunn, beat you to it, Bob. Okay, so you can study that at your leisure, but I'm going to go through some of it now. So I don't know if we'll get to the 46 secondary downfalls today or ever, but the 18 root vows are what I'm looking at now. And then
I might mention that Geshe Gyaltsen in Gaden Shatse Ling has been doing an extended commentary on the Shantideva Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, and spent many sessions on breaking of vows and restoring of vows. A very detailed commentary.
is that archived online?
Yes, Gaden Shatse Ling in California.
GSTDL. Yeah. Okay, great. Who's the teacher there now? Can't hear you, Bill.
Gyaltsen is his name, Geshe Gyaltsen.
Geshe Tsultrim Gyaltsen.
Yeah, I don't know one Gyaltsen from the other, but he's.
Geshe Tsultrim Gyaltsen passed away many years ago. He founded the center.
You're trying to trick me with your Gyaltsen.
Yeah.
This one is named Gyaltsen too, and he was teaching live every Sunday at.
Yeah, there are many Gyaltsens.
That's what I'm saying. It's one of the Gyaltsens, exactly.
Okay, so
My knowledge.
what's in a name? Okay, so yeah, so that's good. So that'd be gstdl.org probably. So Geshe Tashi Tsering says in his preamble here, the intention for taking the Bodhisattva vows, so if you can follow along if you want to, the intention is everything with the intention is everything with the Bodhisattva vows. We take the vows purely for the sake of others. Only when we dedicate for the sake of others and try our best to put what we've learned into practice will our practice become truly beneficial. The preparation for taking the Bodhisattva vows is really to know how to develop bodhicitta itself. We must have that knowledge and have the intention to develop our minds to really benefit others. We should already be engaging in either the 7 point of cause and effect or equalizing, exchanging oneself with others. So these two different techniques for developing bodhicitta. Only when we have a really strong altruistic mind, when we're at the stage called aspirational bodhicitta, are we ready to take the bodhisattva vows. So obviously, if we haven't studied and received teachings on benefits of bodhicitta and so forth, we won't, most of us won't have a mind to a wish to take the bodhisattva vows or to become enlightened for the sake of sentient beings. Although strictly speaking, we need aspirational bodhicitta before thinking about taking the bodhisattva vows, these days we often take them in connection with a Vajrayana initiation. In the Mahayana tradition, I've heard great masters say many times that if we wait until then, we would have to wait many, many eons. So they talk about how we can develop artificial bodhicitta. Although I feel maybe created bodhicitta is a better word, created in the sense that it occurs only when the practitioner meditates on it. As soon as the meditation stops, that mind stops. So in a way, it's manufactured. Then the masters say the next step is the bodhisattva vows. So this is what tends to happen these days. So the word Lama Zopa Rinpoche uses for artificial or created or manufactured is effortful. So bodhisattva with effort. So you really have to think about the benefits of bodhicitta and the suffering sentient beings, and then you just create this intellectual intention. I want to reach enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings, or may I develop bodhicitta in order to reach enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings, but something like that. So we have to artificially sort of generate the wish. It doesn't spontaneously arise within us until much later in the path. But, as I've mentioned before, after my first Kopan course, 49 years ago, I had an interview with Lama Zopa Rinpoche, one of the first ones, and that I had. And I said, look, you know, in my mind, in my brain, you know, I can say I want to reach enlightenment. You know, I want to reach enlightenment for the happiness of all sentient beings. But in my heart, what I really want is my own happiness. So how do I resolve this hypocrisy? And then he laughed and said, well, you know, it starts with the words. You know, if you don't start with the words, in other words, the effortful bodhicitta, you have to put effort into just thinking again and again. I want all sentient beings to be happy and free from suffering. The way to do it is to reach enlightenment. So I must reach enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So we can think that, but really in the depths of my heart is, well, I've read that if I generate bodhicitta, that creates a lot of good karma. And the result for me, for good karma, is happiness. So maybe I'm just using this trick of pretending to want to generate bodhicitta. So I create good karma and I get happiness myself. So still, Rinpoche said we have to go through generating the words and studying the teachings and meditating on them, and you know, gradually experiencing deeper and deeper levels of compassion and genuine concern for the sufferings of others, and you know, an understanding of how it's possible, you know, how the best person, you can use the word person, to benefit sentient beings is a Buddha. And, you know, I can become a Buddha myself. I understand how that's possible. So having, you know, studying these teachings and thinking about it and gradually developing a more and more sincere wish, then eventually we can develop the effortless bodhicitta, or spontaneous bodhicitta, this thought of, this altruistic thought of wanting to reach enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings is just habitually with us, and it doesn't have to be artificially generated. You know, when we turn our mind to it and then we're doing something else, it's gone, you know. So that's what Geshe-la is saying here. And
Phuntsok Rinpoche is a Gyaltsen.
Phuntsok.
Phuntsok Gyaltsen. That's the Gyaltsen. And I think the 7-point method, where you actually feel the connection, the warm connection to your mother, and extend that to all, strengthen it through all beings, does result in the kind of hysteria or the maybe you search around, somebody should do something about this, and then you say, well, I shall do something, or I will do something about this. If you don't have that strong basis, and maybe it didn't seem the same to me that all beings are the same as I am.
Yeah, so that special intention, laksam, is the 6th of these causes. So the 7-fold cause and effect is, you know, 6 causes and the 1 effect. So 6 causes leading to the 1 effect. So, you know, on the basis of equanimity, then we do, you know, all sentient beings, mother, remembering the kindness, wishing to repay the kindness, the great love, great compassion, then the special intention, you know, taking personal responsibility for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. How to do that? The only way is to become a Buddha. And therefore I must become a Buddha in order to fulfill this wish to benefit all sentient beings. So that is bodhicitta. So first we have to generate it with effort, what Rinpoche calls effortful bodhicitta, or, you know, created or artificial and so forth. But then eventually through greater and greater familiarity, meditating on it, then it gradually, and, you know, and purifying our mind and doing these other practices, then gradually can become more spontaneous or automatic. But, you know, for us to really enter the bodhisattva path, then we actually need to take these 64 bodhisattva vows. And as Geshe-la says, that often we, you know, so what I mentioned before was, you know, the Lama made quite a big deal back in Kopan in that after the fourth course in 73, that, okay, now we're giving the bodhisattva vows. And, you know, those of us who were new students were running around, oh, should I take these? Should I not? You know, and so I definitely decided I wanted to take them. Then my girlfriend wasn't so sure. You know, Eshikado, we'd been at Kopan, been working with the lamas and so forth for 4 or 5 months, but she still wasn't sure. So I went to Lama Yeshe and I said, hey, look, I think she should take them, but she's not sure. Don't you think he said, oh, definitely she should take them. So then I went and told her, says, Lama said you should take them. So then she took them. But often it's not, we don't take them for the first time in a special ceremony. We go to, you know, His Holiness is giving Kala Chakra initiation, or this Lama is giving Yamantaka initiation, or you know, some Lamas giving initiation. And part of the preliminaries to the initiation is taking the bodhisattva and the tantric vows. So often people will take the bodhisattva vows for the first time as part of an initiation, as Geshe Tsering mentions here. Which is probably not how it was done in ancient times. People were gradually brought along, and it wasn't, there weren't all these different lamas giving initiations all the time, here and there, I don't think. So preparation, so the intention for taking the bodhisattva vows, the second is the preparation. So the preparation involves generating aspirational bodhicitta, as well as having a clear and strong determination to be free from samsara. In other words, pure renunciation. Without the kind of mind that really cannot bear to be in this kind of conditioned existence, there's no wish for enlightenment for ourselves, and so it's impossible to have a strong wish to lead other sentient beings to full enlightenment. So, you know, we need renunciation. What happens quite often these days is that aspirational bodhicitta is given by masters at the end of a series of lamrim teachings. It's a ritual which has certain commitments and is a step before taking the bodhisattva vows. I agree with those masters who say that we cannot wait until we have a really genuine aspirational bodhicitta in order to take the bodhisattva vows. If we did, we would never have the chance to take the vows, and that would be a great loss. On the other hand, if we're not keeping the easier vows perfectly, what is the point of taking the harder ones? Because there's no way we'll be able to keep them. As Shantideva says in his Bodhisattva Charyavatara, if we've not really mastered the activities we are doing now, it's pointless to start new ones. So the point of these vows is to help us generate actual bodhicitta. And, you know, he's saying if we wait until we have actual bodhicitta before taking the vows, then we'll never get to that point, because without taking the vows, we'll never get the actual bodhicitta. A bit like sometimes when lamas are giving, you know, there's a lamrim course and people get kind of a bit fired up, and then at the end of the course, the lama say, okay, now anybody wants to take refuge and lay precepts, so we'll do the ceremony. I mean, this used to happen a lot at Kopan, always happened at Kopan, in the early days anyway. And at the end of the course, the lamas would give refuge and lay vows, you know, pratimoksha vows, not killing, not stealing, not sexual misconduct, not lying, not using intoxicants. So but people would say, oh, I don't think I can keep those vows, so I won't take them until I know I can keep them. Well, if you don't take the vows, you'll never get to the point of always avoiding those actions. The point of the vow is to help make us conscious of when we actually, break those vows. So eventually, we will get to the point where we deeply understand karma, and we won't break those vows. But we only get to that point through having taken and kept the vows, and then purify them when we break them. So Shantideva, he's quoting here, first of all, I should examine well what is to be done to see whether I can pursue it or cannot undertake it. If I'm unable, it is best to leave it. But once I've started, I must not withdraw. If I do, then this habit will continue in other lives, and evil and misery will increase. Also, other actions done at the time of its fruition will be weak and will not be accomplished. That's Shantideva. Geshe-la says, if we start an activity, it's much better to finish it rather than starting many activities without finishing any of them. I think that makes perfect sense. Years ago, there was a student of Geshe Zopa's who was pursuing a PhD in linguistics, but then she really wanted to devote herself fully to the Dharma. So she wanted to give up her PhD and just, become a Dharma bum. But Geshe Zopa said it's not a good habit to develop, to start something and not complete it. So she should finish her PhD. So similarly with us at Kurukulla Center, Annie Yeshe was doing a PhD at Harvard in music. And then she wanted to become a nun and all that. But Geshe Tsulga, so she couldn't see the point. She's going to become a nun, she's not going to be doing concert recitals as a nun. So why bother? But Geshe Tsulga told her she should finish her PhD. So she's probably the only Harvard music PhD who's a Buddhist nun. So those are just ordinary examples. So same with any other Dharma undertaking which we take. So if we, no matter how long it takes, we should try to complete it. Bhavamka Rinpoche gave the teaching that became the book, Liberation in the Palm of Our Hand. He gave that teaching in 1921, I think it was. And then His Holiness Shrijnana Rinpoche, who was one of his main students, either volunteered or got the job of editing those teachings to make a Tibetan text. So it took him 37 years. I think it wasn't published in Tibetan until 1958. So then we were offered, Michael Richards offered Wisdom, offered his translation to Wisdom. We first started discussing with him in 1983. That didn't take so long to publish it. It only took 8 years. We published it in 91. But even then, people were complaining how long it was taking. So he said, hey, it took us 8 years. Shrijnana Rinpoche took 37. And so, Lama Yeshe's biography, Big Love, was begun in 92. That came to us at the archive to publish in about 2010 or 2008. So they took us 10 or 12 years. And, oh my God, people were complaining for years why it was taking so long. But, if you're going to do something, not only if you start, you should finish, but you should try and do it properly. So don't rush something and just to get to the end. So I think we did that properly, but still there's many mistakes in it. Anyway, if we start an activity, much better finish than starting many activities without finishing any of them. I think that makes perfect sense. Geshe Tashi Tsering. So I think we have to take a middle way here. What the masters say makes sense. By participating in teachings and taking commitments we can't keep, we're still gaining important imprints for future lives. But although it's good to accumulate imprints for future lives, at the same time, we need to do all we can now to develop the mind which can keep the commitments we're given. There are several texts by great Indian masters in connection with the Bodhisattva vows, such as Asanga's Bodhisattva Bhumi or the Bodhisattva stages. I think that's now translated by Art Engel, published by, I guess, Shambhala or Snowline, same thing. So I think that's a very important book, which I don't have, but I'm going to get. Just add it to the collection of books I haven't read, but I can wave at you. Bodhisattva Bhumi. The 10th chapter, the ethical practice of bodhisattvas, deals with how to keep the vows. So, so there's that book, and there's also this one, Chandra Goman's 20 verses on the bodhisattva vows, with Geshe Lama Rinpoche's commentary. Lama Tsongkhapa wrote a long commentary on that chapter, which is what I'll be mainly referring to. So this in this teaching. I think this is a great teaching, actually. There are other texts, such as the sutra called the Sutra on the Bodhisattva Akashagarbha, which quite thoroughly discusses both the Bodhisattva vows and the Bodhisattva's conduct. And there's a text on the vows called, oh, here it is, Chandra Goman's 20 verses on the Bodhisattva vows, which also has a commentary by Lama Tsongkhapa called The Main Path to Enlightenment, as well as Shantideva's Compendium of Training, the Shiksa Samuchaya. So I don't know if the Compendium of Training is in English. I mean, there was a very early translation by Bandel and Rouse from the 1920s, 100 years ago, on Shantideva's second main text, Compendium of Training. I have a feeling there's a more recent translation, but we need to check. So in terms of doing things, getting imprints, as Geshe-la says, remember I told you that there was, Song Rinpoche was giving an initiation, highest Yoga Tantra initiation, I think at Chakrasamvara. Initiation, Haruka initiation in the Drilbupa tradition. Song Rinpoche was giving this initiation, and it entailed, as usual, taking bodhisattva and tantric vows. And there are a bunch of students, some of the students didn't want to take the initiation because they were scared of taking the tantric vows because they felt they couldn't keep them. They couldn't even come close to keeping them. And they went to Song Rinpoche and said, look, we'd like to take the initiation, but we're not going to because we're afraid that we won't be able to keep the tantric vows and we'll go to hell for breaking the vows. And he said, come on, guys, you're going to hell anyway, so you may as well go for a good reason. And so I think some of them were convinced by that incisive argument and took the initiation and probably broke the vows and are now in hell. But
Charles Goodman, 2016, another translation
Of
the Shantideva's other book. It's the Shiksa, whatever it's called.
Oh, Charles Goodman. He's from Harvard, right?
I have no idea. I don't know how many. I know there are a lot of Gelsons. I don't know how many Goodmans there are.
I can think of one or two. There's John Goodman. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. I think he's at the Div School. I'm not sure. Okay, moving right along. The commitment. When we take the Bodhisattva vows, it's very important to be fully aware of what kind of commitment we're making. Otherwise, it'll be very, very difficult to keep the vows. There seems to be a sequence. First, the individual liberation vows, then the Bodhisattva vows, and finally the Vajrasattva or Vajrayana or Tantric vows. In order to take the Tantric vows, we must have first taken the Bodhisattva vows. We cannot proceed without them. But do we need to have taken one of the 7 different types of individual liberation vows, 2 for lay people and 5 for ordained people, to take the Bodhisattva vows? There's a lot of discussion. Lama Tsongkhapa dedicated almost 24 pages to it. The Buddha himself taught that his followers must follow the practices he recommended step by step, which indicates that the individual liberation vows must come first. In Atisha's Lamp on the Path to Enlightenment, there's a clear statement saying that without taking the individual liberation vows, there is no way to take the Bodhisattva vows. But Lama Tsongkhapa's conclusion was that although ideally that would be the case, at least the very base of the Bodhisattva vows is to avoid the 10 non-virtues. Avoiding the 10 non-virtues depends upon ethics, and ethics depends upon compassion. So again, it all comes down to compassion. Compassion is the base. And here again, Lama Tsongkhapa goes quite thoroughly into why compassion is important to lay the foundation on which we practice the vows. He then looks at 2 unwholesome mental factors we must avoid: shamelessness and lack of consideration for others. Okay. So shamelessness and lack of consideration, as you know, are 2 of the 20 secondary delusions. When we're looking at the 51 mental factors, there's these, one of the sections is 6 principal delusions. Another section is the 20 secondary delusions. So shamelessness, we've already talked about these 2 minds in the Buddhist psychology course. It's one of these books I mentioned before. Shamelessness, ngotsamepa, is a lack of concern about our own well-being, whereas lack of consideration for others, the other one, is about the harm we do to others because we don't care about them. In both cases, we need to develop the opposites, consideration for both ourselves and others. Why are these 2 minds seen as important? A person who lacks the first one, self-respect, that is concerned about one's own life, both now and in the future, is much, much more at risk of doing anything because there's no sense of understanding of what's going to happen to them in the future, no understanding of karma. If they're concerned with the future, they'll be in a much better position to avoid committing negative actions which will bring unfortunate consequences for themselves. So lack of consideration for others. The second mind, lack of consideration for others, while taking in all sentient beings, mainly refers to the people who are important in our lives, such as our parents, or those concerned with our spiritual life. If we lack consideration, there's a great risk of not keeping our vows. Of course, we must refrain from unwholesome activities because they'll cause us and others suffering. But having consideration for others brings in the added dimension of the pain our parents, friends, and spiritual masters we feel when we let them down. So it's like, I think similar to what the Buddha said. He said, monks, there are two things that sort of keep the world on an even keel. What are these two? They are shame and fear of blame. So shame is lack of shame is when we think to ourselves, well, I know I've taken the vow not to do this, but here I am, I'm by myself, no one's going to know. So I'll do it because no one's going to know, you know. So there's no shame for one's own behavior, you know. I only care what others think of me. So I'll break this precept or do this negative activity, even though I know it's negative, because I want to do it, because my attachment is making me do it, and no one will know. So then, because having that kind of mind, lack of shame, then we do all kinds of things in private. The fear of blame is avoiding negative actions because of the criticism we'll receive from others. So this can be negative or positive. Negative in that we're acting out of one of the 8 worldly dharmas, you know, concern for reputation. So that I won't do this action because if I do, other people will criticize me and they'll think I'm a bad person. So even though you avoid doing the negative action, it's still the negative motivation. It's a worldly dharma. So we're still creating negative karma, even though we're not doing the negative action, because we're not doing it because of what others will think. So it's kind of a mix, really. We don't create negative karma of doing the action, but the reason we're not doing it is because of a worldly dharma. So the negative motivation, it'll cause suffering. The positive way of not doing it out of concern for others is, say, you know, if I was a monk, they say, well, if I do this action and others see me doing it, this will cause them to criticize the Sangha. It will bring my Dharma, my Sangha brothers and sisters into disrepute, and it will cause these people to criticize the Sangha and disparage the Sangha and therefore create negative karma in their own mind. Or you don't even have to be a monk or nun, you know, it can be, if we're representatives of Kurukulla Center and we're doing all these negative actions, people think Buddhism, you know, what doesn't, you know, there's people that say they're Buddhists, but look what they're doing. They're doing this negative action, they're doing this negative action. You know, Buddhism doesn't make sense. So in a way, if people know we're kind of trying to be serious Buddhist practitioner and we do these negative actions, then we can cause people to criticize the Dharma, which is bad for them, you know. Of course, then there are other examples like Geshe Ben Kungel in the Liberation of the Palm of your Hand. There's a few stories about him, you know, whenever he did negative actions, he would announce it to everybody in general. Oh, Ben Kungel, he did this, you know, he stole this, or he did this, or he did that, you know, in order to crush his own, to go against his own self-cherishing and his egocentric actions. So although it might induce people to criticize Buddhist practitioners in general, in Tibet at that time, it had more the effect of people criticizing him, and that sort of damaged his ego and self-cherishing, which was his motivation for not necessarily doing the action, but for making it public that he did. So shame and fear of blame. So then the fourth thing here, so there's the intention for taking the Bodhisattva vows, the preparation, then the commitment, shamelessness, lack of consideration for others. Finally, for the 3 ways of practicing the vows. So the Bodhisattva vows can be practiced in 3 ways: restraining oneself from harmful actions, accumulating wholesome deeds, and working for the benefit of others. So, if you remember, this is really talking about the, we have the 6 perfections. So actually Lama Zopa Rinpoche's book on the 6 perfections, this is the hardcover, but this has just come out in paperback. So this is talking about the practice of the perfection of moral conduct, perfection of discipline, or morality. So there are three ways of practicing morality. And he's talking about it in the context, these 3 methods apply to the Bodhisattva vows. Restraining oneself from harm, also restraining oneself from harmful actions, accumulating wholesome deeds, working for the benefit of others. For us, the first step is to restrain from harmful actions. If we cannot do that, then the second and third steps are quite difficult. The first and second, restraining oneself from harmful actions and accumulating wholesome deeds, are technically what is called ripening one's mental continuum. These are mainly for our own sake. We need to be prepared, because if we're not ready, how can we benefit others? We need to prepare our mind to benefit others, which is the third one, working for the benefit of others. So we ripen our own continuum by avoiding negative actions and practicing wholesome deeds. So it's also mentioned in the verse in Guru Puja, isn't it? The perfection of morality. Lama Tsongkhapa says that without subduing our own negative actions, there's no way to subdue or help eliminate other people's disturbing emotions. That's very clear. Okay, so that's all the preamble. Then there's the commentary, teaching on the 18 root downfalls. So we might get to that. So next week there's no class. So the next class will be in 2 weeks' time. I think is it January the 2nd. So all the Christmas and New Year revelry should have subsided by then, so we can get back to practicing Dharma. So if you can, read through this commentary, that will be great preparation for the next class in 2 weeks' time. So I think that'll do it for today. So we'll just do the concluding prayers, but remember, we generated bodhicitta at the beginning. We discussed this teaching on the bodhisattva vows. So through both those actions, we created a lot of merit. So we want to dedicate this merit before it gets destroyed. So I think, because of this merit, may I quickly reach enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So we dedicate the merit to the enlightenment of all sentient beings, just as we dedicated the session to that goal. And we'll just do the concluding prayers. Thank you, Bob.
Saji Perki Jukshing Nektok Tram Ri Rab Ling Ji Ni Degin Padi Sange Jing Du Mikte Urwagi Drokun Nam Bak Jing La Cher Pan Shuk Jetsun Lame Kutse Rab Ten Ching Na Katrin Le Chok Chigi Padam Lo Santen Vedran Me Sasungi Droe Munsel Tak Tunig Yor Chig Yedam Guru Ratma Mandalakam Niryatayami. In that snow mountain encircled land, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chen Rizig remain in life till samsara's end. Savior of the Snowland teachings and transmigratory beings who extensively clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion to the lotus in the hand, Lord Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be fulfilled. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Mahayana's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Through this virtue may I swiftly, having gained Guru Buddha's state, place each and every sentient being without exception in that state. Precious supreme Bodhi mind, may it where unborn arise, and where born never decline, but increase forevermore. Mig se wei ter chen chen rezik, dream yen bei wang po jong del yang, gang chen ke pei su yen song ka pa, lo sang drag pei jab la so wa de. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Thanks, everybody. See you in 2 weeks.
Nick, if I may, I'd like to make on behalf of all of your students in this wonderful course, I'd like to make a virtual offering. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and your experiential wisdom. I am told that this virtual offering will be transformed into something more tangible by those who hold the keys to the kingdom. I'd also like to request that you continue these teachings as far into the new year as you may deem beneficial to us all. Thank you again.
Amen.
Well, thank you. You're not students. We're would-be practitioners on the same level. I'm just sharing some of the things I've heard over the decades, and just holding the fort for Geshe-la. So, I think we're all in the same boat. But so I'm happy to try to continue next year as long as we need to. And I doubt it has much benefit for you really, but it's a lot of benefit for me to think about these things now and then. So I thank you for the opportunity.
Dr. Nick, thank you so
you.
much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Please continue to share.
Eat the apple.
Yes.
Okay, well, you can eat it on my behalf.
Very helpful.
Your experience is so amazing, and it's so wonderful to listen to all your stories,
Yeah.
dramas, and it's very unique and special. Thank you so much.
This is only personal, but what you thought was a distraction, your many teachings on the Guru Yoga Lama Tsongkhapa was really beneficial. Thank you. It was very good.
All right, well, again, thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it. And stories is about all I got. Okay, so see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you, Nick.
Merry Christmas to you.
Happy New Year.
I missed Hanukkah.
What did Tiny Tim say? Merry Christmas and something for all.
God bless us, everyone.
God bless us,
Yeah.
everyone.
Well, Buddha bless us, everyone. Okay, thanks you guys. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Thanks, everyone.